Hello, curious minds. Lauren here, your dedicated guide through the fascinating tapestry of real-life stories. Today, we're not just observing, we're stepping onto the vibrant, sometimes chaotic, front lines of customer service. From delightful acts of unexpected translation to moments of bewildering human behavior, and even the surprisingly visceral reasons behind everyday habits, prepare to journey through tales that prove every interaction holds a unique, often unforgettable lore. Let's immerse ourselves and explore them together. Our first lore today comes from Redditor u/ablestmage, who encountered a truly unique communication challenge. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the words were all English, yet the understanding seemed miles apart? This tale beautifully illustrates how sometimes the most helpful translation isn't from one language to another, but from English to a clearer English. Our storyteller, a dedicated DSD vendor, found themselves navigating the aisles of a bustling store one ordinary day, when they stumbled upon a scene that was equal parts comical and poignant. Two ladies, each conversing in English, were locked in a cycle of escalating frustration. The root of their struggle? Incredibly thick accents, one hailing from what our storyteller guessed was the India region, and the other speaking with a very heavy Spanish cadence. As their patience wore thin, their enunciation seemed to dissolve, making their already dense accents even more challenging for each other to decipher. The fragmented conversation, as conceptually recalled by our storyteller, painted a vivid picture of their mounting exasperation. "I just can't understand you," exclaimed the Spanish-accented lady, her voice edged with a blend of bewilderment and irritation. "I'm not sure what you are saying to me, but I only am trying to tell you which aisle we should go to next. It's nothing to yell about." "Why are you yelling?" replied the India-accented lady, her voice rising into defensive confusion. "Your accent is so thick, I can only just barely make out one or two words." "Speak slower," the Spanish-accented lady insisted, her frustration boiling over. "Maybe if we stop yelling, we could sound it out." "You speak too fast when you are yelling," countered the India-accented lady, trying to impose some calm amidst the vocal storm. Spotting the growing impasse, our storyteller, who possessed a keen ear for dissecting various accents from years of listening to BBC Radio 4, gently offered to intercede. Both women, seizing the opportunity for a lifeline, immediately poured out their grievances. Our storyteller, with a calming presence, then became a living, breathing bridge between them, carefully rephrasing each woman's words, clarifying the subtle nuances, and patiently untangling the threads of misunderstanding. Once the fog of confusion began to lift, a moment of delightful irony unfolded. The Spanish-accented lady, now able to grasp the simple directions, exclaimed, "Well, why didn't you just say so?" "She did, and you're still yelling," our storyteller calmly pointed out, a wry smile playing on their lips, which was met with a shared grin from the India-accented lady.
"Oh, sorry. I have a short temper sometimes, I guess,"
the Spanish-accented lady admitted, her face softening into a genuine smile. In an attempt to be even more helpful, our storyteller then shared a recent sign language word they had learned. "Slowly," demonstrating the simple hand motion. The Spanish-accented lady, taking this to heart in a surprisingly tender and endearing misunderstanding, reached out, grabbed the India-accented lady's arm, and began to gently pet it, slowly. "That's not what I meant," our storyteller began to interject, a mix of amusement and slight bewilderment in their voice. But the India-accented lady, with a dreamy, almost far-away look in her eyes, shushed them, waving them off, as if to say, "Don't ruin this moment." Our storyteller, sensing they had witnessed something unexpectedly profound, and perhaps a little too personal, discreetly made their escape, leaving the two friends to their surprisingly tender albeit non-verbal, connection. They were later tracked down for more phrases and eventually learned the broader context. These two friends were actually shopping together as an experiment, a unique way to get to know each other better. What a truly memorable and heartwarming interaction, proving that sometimes the path to understanding is paved with unexpected detours and even a little gentle petting. What a delightful lore about finding connection and humor in the most unexpected ways. It reminds us that empathy and a willingness to bridge divides can lead to truly unique human moments. If this story brought a smile to your face or warmed your heart, please take a moment to give this video a like. Your support helps more curious minds discover our collection of found lores. And tell me, have you ever been in the situation where you had to translate between people who, despite speaking the same language, just couldn't seem to understand each other? Share your amusing or challenging experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear your tales. Now, let's transition from a story of amusing miscommunication to one of perplexing accusations, as our next lore delves into the curious and, ultimately, quite frustrating case of a stolen purse. This intriguing account comes from Redditor u/mdoth, a dedicated retail worker whose memory is still vividly haunted by a baffling customer encounter from back in 2017. Our storyteller was diligently tidying the fashion accessories department on a particularly busy Sunday afternoon, the kind of day where the store hummed with a constant ebb and flow of shoppers. Suddenly, a woman appeared, approaching our storyteller with an almost frantic energy, speaking at an incredible, almost indecipherable speed. After a whirlwind of about 15 seconds of rapid-fire words, she abruptly declared, "Oh, forget it, I'll ask someone else," and stormed off, disappearing into the labyrinth of aisles towards the tills. It wasn't long before a security guard emerged, clearly annoyed, fresh from an interaction with the very same woman. She then, in another fit of pique, stormed off again. Our storyteller's colleagues quickly filled them in on the unfolding drama. The agitated lady was vehemently claiming that someone had snatched her purse the very moment she stepped foot into the store. Curiously, she wasn't particularly concerned about the money inside, but she expressed desperate urgency about her expensive train tickets, which she needed for an important trip the very next day. Her demand was clear and insistent. They must immediately check the security cameras to apprehend the elusive thief. However, security, adhering strictly to protocol, stated they could not review footage without pausing the ongoing recording, a measure only permitted in dire emergencies. The woman's frustration quickly morphed into unbridled fury. She grew increasingly irate, resorting to threatening to report the entire staff to the police for their perceived lack of assistance. When, in a genuine attempt to help, she was politely asked for her contact details in case anything turned up, she flatly refused, stating there was absolutely no point if they weren't going to help her right then. Approximately 10 minutes later, as our storyteller continued their tidying duties near a sale purse stand, their eyes caught something on the floor. It was a purse, looking a bit worse for wear, somewhat rumpled and unkempt. Upon picking it up, a subtle shift, a distinct clink, suggested something loose inside. Opening it, our storyteller immediately recognized it as clearly belonging to someone. It contained a jumble of notes, coins, and various cards. Checking the identification, it was, indeed, the very same irate lady's purse, complete with her much-needed train tickets. The fact that the money remained untouched, along with its location, noticeably further into the store than the entrance or the tills, made the initial stolen claim seem even more dubious and puzzling. It looked less like a theft and more like a simple, albeit careless, drop. One dedicated colleague spent a considerable amount of time walking all 3 floors of the expansive store, meticulously searching for the woman, but to no avail. The purse was dutifully taken to Lost and Found. Our storyteller operates under the assumption that the woman never recovered her purse, and consequently either missed her crucial trip or was forced to bear the expense of replacing her tickets. The enduring frustration for our storyteller lies in the simplicity of the solution. Had the woman simply taken a moment to calm herself and provided her contact number, she could have had her purse returned to her within half an hour. The storyteller later added an insightful edit to their original post, clarifying that by moved, they meant the telltale rattle of loose coins, and that purse, in this context, referred to the British usage for a money holder, not a large handbag. This further solidified their conviction. They are now quite certain she was attempting to shoplift, using the fabricated, stolen purse as a calculated distraction to divert security's attention, a theory strongly supported by her steadfast refusal to leave any contact details. This lore certainly takes a few unexpected and perplexing turns, doesn't it? It leaves us pondering the sheer unpredictability of human behavior, especially under pressure. It also makes you wonder how often such bizarre scenarios play out behind the scenes in the bustling world of retail, where truth is often stranger than fiction. If you found yourself intrigued, baffled, or even a little annoyed alongside our storyteller, please consider hitting that subscribe button to join our growing family of found laws enthusiasts. Your subscription helps us bring more incredible true tales to light, and we're genuinely curious. What's the most unbelievable or frustrating customer story you've ever heard or experienced? Share your bewildering tales in the comments below. Let's unravel these mysteries together. Our journey continues, from baffling accusations to a true test of patience at the checkout. Prepare for a tale of seemingly endless cart declines, an unexpected revelation of cash, and the quiet heroism of a true retail warrior. This next lore comes from Redditor u/FauxWolfTale, detailing an unforgettable and utterly absurd encounter with a customer they affectionately refer to as V for Veteran. V, a kind-hearted man, carried the lasting effects of a past injury, which, at times, led to moments of endearing, if challenging, eccentricity. And this particular day at the checkout was certainly one of those moments. V leisurely strolled into the relatively small store, accumulating about $300 worth of items. After applying various discounts and calculating taxes, the final total crept closer to $330. When the final sum was presented, V, with an air of casual confidence, pulled out a wallet that our storyteller described as thick to the brim with credit cards. A veritable brick of plastic, thicker than 2 thumbs stacked together, and containing nothing else. Without even a glance at the specific card he was drawing, he confidently presented the frontmost one. The register sang its disheartening song, declined. V, unfazed, presented another, declined, and another, and another, and another. Our storyteller, sensing a burgeoning issue, politely suggested, "Sir, do you have any cash, or perhaps a check?" But V, with a shake of his head, indicated that plastic was his only path forward. The seemingly endless card parade continued. More declines. Then a glimmer of hope. An approved, but for a mere $20, and it turned out to be a gift card. More declines followed, each one a small puncture in the fabric of the workday, until another, approved, chimed in for $19.91. By this point, a rare and unwelcome sight was forming in the small single-till store. A steadily growing line of 3 people, with our storyteller as the sole employee manning the register. V, perhaps feeling the unspoken pressure, began to grow visibly agitated. The declined chorus swelled, transitioning from standard bank cards to what appeared to be various special funds cards, each one met with the same unwavering rejection. Another, approved, finally arrived, this time for a meager $5. The line behind V had now ballooned to 5 people, and the person directly behind V was beginning to cast the kind of piercing look that a hungry Karen reserves specifically for a perceivedly weak retail worker, a look that promised a storm if not diffused quickly. More Devonleys continued to pile up, a monotonous symphony of financial rejection. Finally, the last card was presented. Approved, $25. Another gift card. V let out a dramatic sigh, a gesture of weary resignation. Then, to our storyteller's utter and complete shock, V casually reached into another pocket and pulled out another wallet. This one, full of 50s, about 3 fingers thick with crisp green bills. He proceeded to pay the remaining balance in cash, every single bill passing both the UV light and marker tests without a hitch. Just as our storyteller was about to breathe a sigh of relief and turn to the next customer, V mumbled something utterly incomprehensible.
God.
After a moment of bewildered silence and a polite request for repetition, our storyteller finally deciphered V's request. He wanted them to carry his voluminous bags out to his car. With a line of 5 to 6 people now stretching behind them, and our storyteller being the only employee on duty, this seemed an utterly impossible request. However, in a beautiful moment of serendipity and true human kindness, a stranger in a red shirt from the patiently waiting line, having observed the entire unfolding spectacle and realizing V's need, spontaneously volunteered as tribute. He stepped forward, taking V's bags without hesitation. Upon returning, Red Shirt revealed that V's car was parked an astounding 3 blocks away. Our storyteller, immensely grateful for Red Shirt's unexpected act of compassion, secretly and very deservedly snuck a generous military discount into his own purchase. Our storyteller, with a mix of fondness and exasperation, reiterates that they genuinely don't hate V, but some days they just want to playfully slap him with a fish. What an exhausting yet utterly hilarious and absurd checkout experience. It's truly amazing how a seemingly simple transaction can transform into an epic saga, filled with unexpected twists and turns. If you found yourself laughing, cringing, or simply shaking your head in shared retail camaraderie along with our storyteller, consider hitting the like button. Every like helps us reach more listeners who appreciate these incredible true tales. And don't forget to subscribe to Found Laws for more captivating narratives. Our next compelling law, shared by Redditor u/darksided cookies, highlights the pervasive challenges of implementing new store policies and confronting customer entitlement in the retail world. Our storyteller works at a large box store, which had recently rolled out a new, stricter process for applying veteran discounts. Now, veterans with smartphones were required to register their status online or through a dedicated app to obtain a unique QR code for their discount. This QR code, designed for security, refreshed hourly to prevent fraudulent sharing. While some sympathetic staff members would discreetly assist less tech-savvy veterans through the new process, others, including our storyteller, held a firm, no-nonsense stance on the matter. If you don't want to do it, either pay full price or buy it elsewhere. There is no third option. This new, stricter method had been adopted after the old system, which merely involved checking IDs, became susceptible to misuse by individuals who were exploiting the discount for large business purchases or, even worse, resorting to aggressive behavior when denied combined discounts. One day, while diligently monitoring the self-checkout area, our storyteller moved to assist a polite, elderly woman who was navigating her transaction. Suddenly, a heavy-set man, radiating an aura of impatience, waved them over, loudly proclaiming he was having trouble applying his veteran discount. Have you registered your veteran status on our site? The storyteller asked, calmly initiating the standard procedure. What? I have my ID right here, the big guy retorted, his voice dismissive as he flashed his identification card. My phone number is blah blah. Our storyteller began to patiently explain the new policy, outlining the shift from ID checks to the QR code system. But before they could even finish, the big guy rudely interrupted. No, I don't have to do that. Just type in my number like last time. I do it all the time when I come here. So why won't you do it? Switching to a neutral, yet unyielding tone, our storyteller firmly stated, You're mistaken, sir. We've never gone by phone number for veteran discounts. We used to check IDs, but then... The fuh? You calling me a liar? WTF is your problem? The big guy exploded, his face instantly flushing with anger, his voice booming across the self-checkout area. Unfazed by the sudden outburst, our storyteller maintained their composure, calmly replying, I didn't say you were lying, sir. I said you were mistaken. As I said, other box store goes by number. We go by the QR code you get when you register your veteran status online. The big guy, however, was not to be reasoned with. He continued his abusive tirade, unleashing a torrent of profanity and insults, using every cuss word imaginable. Our storyteller, having mentally shut off their humanity in a practiced act of self-preservation, simply stood there, watching him turn an alarming shade of beet red, allowing him to exhaust his fury. Once his verbal barrage finally subsided, the storyteller, still composed, offered, I'll get a manager for you. The big guy, still fuming, continued to hurl insults, questioning our storyteller's competence and honesty. What he didn't realize, however, was that our storyteller was well known and universally liked by all the staff, not just for their professionalism, but also for their thoughtful gestures, like bringing homemade treats for everyone. As if on cue, a manager quickly arrived, already alerted to the escalating situation by a quick-thinking cashier. The big guy, eager for a new audience, immediately relaunched into his furious tirade, doubling down on his accusations, repeatedly calling our storyteller names and a liar. The manager, familiar with the new policy and supporting their employee, calmly confirmed our storyteller's explanation. The store had indeed never used phone numbers for veteran discounts. That was, in fact, the policy of the other box store. Despite this clear clarification, the big guy, fueled by his own entitlement, defiantly dug in his heels, refusing to accept the truth. Then, something truly wonderful and unexpected happened. 3 male customers, patiently waiting at another checkout, stepped forward and came to our storyteller's spirited defense. The shortest of the 3, witnessing the injustice, marveled aloud at how our storyteller took it like a boss, while this hulk of witch roared at them. When the big guy indignantly insisted that our storyteller had called him a liar, the shorter customer interjected, his voice firm and clear. Hombre, she said you were mistaken. That doesn't mean lying. You're the one lying, making up all that BS just now. We all heard you. Even the polite elderly woman our storyteller had initially assisted chimed in, her gentle voice laced with surprising steel. You're an a-hole for bullying retail workers. They have it hard enough. This girl was nothing less than nice, and you dacked all over her kindness. Shame on you. The manager, now fully empowered by the public support for his employee and the big guy's undeniable belligerence, told the big guy unequivocally that he didn't appreciate him harassing his employee and firmly instructed him to leave the store. The perfect, satisfying cherry on top of this entire ordeal? The big guy, still stubbornly convinced he was in the right, pulled out a crumpled receipt from the last time he shopped here to definitively prove his point. But lo and behold, a quick glance revealed that the receipt was, without a shadow of a doubt, from the other box store. Big guy instantly went silent, his face draining of color. The manager, seeing the undeniable evidence in his hand, simply looked at him and asked, his voice calm but unwavering, "So, are you leaving voluntarily, or should I have the police give you a ride somewhere?" With that final, decisive question, the big guy, defeated and speechless, hurried out of the store, empty-handed, without another word or even a backward glance at anyone. After the dust settled, the manager approached our storyteller, asking if they were okay. Our storyteller confirmed they were, just a bit annoyed. The manager expressed his deep appreciation for our storyteller keeping their cool throughout the escalating situation, even giving them a supportive fist bump. He also added a heartfelt, "Thanks for the cupcakes I made on Mother's Day," mentioning that he had given one to his pregnant wife, and she absolutely loved it. Our storyteller then took a moment to personally thank the 3 brave customers who had come to their defense. The shorter one, still radiating solidarity, gave our storyteller a fist bump and shared how he knew firsthand what it was like to be bullied on the job, relating it to his own young daughter's similar experiences. As our storyteller wisely concludes, "Goes to show you, not all heroes wear capes. Some wear paint-stained clothes, safety vests, or thick boots. Some even wear orthopedic loafers and pearl earrings." A truly inspiring lore about integrity, standing firm in the face of injustice, and the unexpected power of bystander intervention. From battles over discounts to the quiet heroism of everyday people, our retail journey continues to unveil the fascinating spectrum of human interaction. And speaking of everyday realities, our final lore today delves into a surprisingly visceral reason behind a common, often unappreciated, act of hygiene. Get ready to understand exactly why some retail workers are so meticulous about washing their hands. This intriguing and perhaps a little stomach-churning account comes from Redditor u/narvishfob. Have you ever pondered why some retail workers seem to wash their hands with almost religious fervor, sanitizing after nearly every customer interaction? Our storyteller is about to give you a...
Our storyteller used to work in this store's phone center, a small, often bustling hub located right by the front door.
Because of its proximity to the main entrance, with doors constantly swinging open and closed, the area could get quite warm, especially on a hot day. To combat this, they had a small, discreet fan positioned on their counter, strategically placed behind a divider to keep it out of customers' view. One particular day, our storyteller was manning the phone center when an older gentleman, perhaps in his early 60s, approached for assistance with his phone. As he walked in, our storyteller immediately noticed he looked rather sweaty, which, given the hot weather, was perfectly understandable. However, as he drew closer, a more unsettling observation emerged. What our storyteller initially perceived as sweat in his hair was, in fact, an extreme amount of grease, so saturated, so wet, that it was literally dripping. It looked as if he had just dunked his entire head in water a mere 30 seconds before stepping into the store. He reached the counter, and our storyteller, ever the professional, attempted to offer their standard greeting. But, mid-sentence, they were forced to stop and pause, biting back a sudden, overwhelming urge to instantly vomit. This wasn't just a bad smell. This was an assault on the senses. The greeting likely came out as something akin to, "Hi, how can I?" A small, suppressed choking or gagging noise. "Help you." Our storyteller is not exaggerating when they describe the stench. It was, as they vividly put it, like someone had taken a porta potty that had been used for a week straight at a bustling state fair, then inexplicably dumped it in the middle of a highway for another week during an extreme heat wave. And then, this gentleman, seemingly, had come along and rolled in it. Adding another layer to this already extraordinary encounter, the man literally brought flies in with him. Not just one or two, but at least 5 or 6 persistent flies followed his malodorous aura directly into the store. Our storyteller unequivocally states that smelling raw sewage would have been a preferable, less offensive experience. With a subtlety born of desperation, our storyteller tried to angle the small fan as much towards him and away from themselves as humanly possible, without making the maneuver overtly obvious. The goal was to direct the truly nose-hair singeing smell away from their personal airspace. Throughout the interaction, they leaned as far back as they could, trying to create maximum distance from the customer without appearing to actively recoil. He explained his predicament. His phone wasn't making outgoing calls, and he needed it fixed. Normally, our storyteller had no qualms about handling a customer's phone. But this phone, this was, without a doubt, the single most disgusting object they had ever been handed in their life. The man claimed he had only bought it a couple of months prior, pulling out what was supposed to be a black flip phone. What he actually presented was an object that had once, likely, been black, but was now one giant uniform stain thickly coated in dried drops of unidentifiable, brownish mystery liquids. The screen, too, was a horrifying shade of yellowed, a discoloration that should simply not be possible in the very short span of a couple of months he had owned it. Our storyteller, mustering every ounce of professionalism, simply instructed him, "Please just set it on the counter for me." Using only the very tips of their fingers, they gingerly touched the phone, and when making a test call, they ensured it was on speakerphone, minimizing direct contact as much as possible. Miraculously, our storyteller managed to fix the phone's issue, sending the man off, seemingly happy and oblivious to the olfactory havoc he had wreaked. Then came the moment of grim assessment. Our storyteller looked at the fingertips they had used, and they were not kidding. It genuinely looked as though they had been handling rusty nails for hours. At that point, the suppressed urge to vomit returned with a vengeance. Our storyteller almost succumbed. Suffice it to say, what followed was an extreme purification ritual. Our storyteller used almost an entire bottle of hand sanitizer, then immediately dashed to the restroom. There they scrubbed their hands with an almost surgical intensity until every last bit of the brownish residue was gone, and their hands were literally red from the vigor of the cleaning. This was followed by yet another drenching of hand sanitizer. From that day forward, our storyteller developed an impulsive habit, sanitizing their hands after every single customer interaction, regardless of whether or not they had actually touched anything from them. It became an ingrained reflex. So, the next time you witness a recruiting worker, or anyone for that matter, obsessively washing or sanitizing their hands, perhaps just let them be. You truly never know what unmentionable stuff they might have just experienced, and why their dedication to hygiene has become a matter of personal and perhaps professional survival.
Each lore we explore leaves a unique impression, doesn't it? From the heartwarming and the frustrating to the absurd and the simply unforgettable, these tales from the everyday world truly capture the rich, unpredictable tapestry of human experience.
If these stories brought a moment of joy, a spark of curiosity, a knowing nod of recognition, or even a profound appreciation for hand sanitizer to your day, a gentle like on this video would be greatly appreciated. Your support helps more curious minds discover our collection of real-life narratives. To become a cherished part of our growing family of found lores enthusiasts, simply press that subscribe button and join us on our continuous quest to find and share the most captivating true tales. And I'm always eager to hear your thoughts and experiences. What kind of lores do you find most captivating? Or perhaps you have a retail or customer service story of your own that truly illustrates why hygiene is so important. Share your insights and your own unforgettable encounters in the comments below. I eagerly await our next story time.